Just hit record. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today's ERA live session topic, excuse me, is an AI update on new AI tools for our business, including new ERA GPT features, custom GPTs, and more. So before we get started, I would like to remind the audience to please mute your devices. If you would like to ask a question, please use the chat box or the raise hand function, and we'll get to your questions as time allows. This session is being recorded, and we will be posting the recording on the ERA website within 48 hours. Walter Tobin, ERA's CEO, will introduce today's special guest speaker. So with that, Walter, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Claire. Well, we are once again delighted to have Sam Richter on one of these ERA live sessions. Sam, as you know, is really our Nostradamus in our industry to guide us into new areas of not only AI, but anything that's new and exciting. Sam, we've had a relationship with Sam now for about 3 years, and we're delighted and thrilled that he's helped guide and maybe on occasion push ERA into areas that perhaps were a little uncomfortable for us at the time, but we've managed to navigate thanks to Sam's leadership. So Sam, I'm going to turn it over to you. And as always, appreciate your time and your courtesy. So without further ado, Sam Richter.
Well, great. Thank you, Walter. And it's great to see everybody. So what I wanted to do is have today be more interactive than presentation. But I do want to review a little bit about what generative AI is. So I'm going to share my screen here, share some slides. Let me pull this up real quick. So feel free to interrupt me at any time with questions, anything that's on your mind. If I'm not clear on anything, what I'd like to do is, like I said, I'll go through a little bit about what generative AI is, why it lies a little bit. Then I'll actually go into ChatGPT. I'll show you how to effectively use it in some little tricks of the trade on how to do it better. And I'll also show you a little bit what's called custom GPTs, why I still like ChatGPT better than some of the other models. And then I've produced some pretty cool tools that Walter and team does not even know about yet that I've already embedded into the ERA search links. So I look forward to showing you those as well. So let me share my screen here. I'm going to open up the chat window so I can see that as well. Okay, here we go. Can you all see my screen right there? My PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
great.
yeah.
So super. When we talk about what is generative AI, let me put this in perspective, the technology that we're all kind of experiencing right now that's really been in front of us and why it's such a change. Here's an interesting statistic. If a person read 24 hours per day for their entire life, so let's say that the average lifespan of somebody is 75 years, from the second they were born till the day they died, if they read every second of every day for 75 years, it's estimated that they consume about 8 billion words. A GPT system, today's GPT system, consumes more than 8 trillion words in a single month. So what we're dealing with is a technology that is never before been in front of us in human history. This isn't Google. So if you recall, Google is a tool that searches the internet. If you recall from some of my past presentations, if you think of Google as a big vacuum cleaner, Google looks at the internet, it finds websites with words on the page, it flips on the vacuum cleaner, it sucks up the words and stores those words into a database. We go in and we type 1, 2, or 3 words into Google, and all Google's doing is basically looking at its database of all the websites it's ever vacuumed up, and it says, here you go. So Google is not generative AI, although there are now generative AI features inside Google. Google is rules-based, meaning that a software programmer has gone in and said, when you find a website that's publicly available, we want you to add the words of that website into our database. And if an individual comes to our website and types in 1, 2, or 3 words, you will display those words in an orderly fashion, if you will. Now, where Google has AI, which is different than generative AI. So traditional Google has AI or machine learning. Is your website's results might be a little bit different than my website results, at least as how they're ranked. So for example, if I go into Google and type in great Italian restaurants in Dallas, and let's say 5,000 results appear. Well, if all of us on the call today went into Google and typed in that exact same search, great Italian restaurants in Dallas, all 5,000 of us would, or excuse me, all of us would get the exact same 5,000 results. Now, where AI or machine learning comes into play is it knows Walter's search history, it knows Jen's search history, it knows Kathy's search history, and it knows mine. And so those results might be ranked differently based on our search history. But all of us are going to get the exact same 5,000 results. Generative AI is completely different. So generative AI, as the name says, allows us to generate new content, information that never even existed before. So, for example, you've all heard of the term GPT. Well, what does GPT even mean? G stands for generative. So it's completely new. It's never the same answer, ever. It's if all of us on the call today went in and said, write me a review for an Italian restaurant, if there's 100 people on the call today, there would be 100 unique answers. Now, they might be similar, but it's never been created before. It's something that's brand new. It's generative. Pre-training. This is really important. Whereas Google looks at the entire internet, the vacuum cleaner looks at the entire internet to vacuum up those websites, any GPT system is only going to be based on the data that it's been trained on. Now, as I just mentioned, that can be a huge amount of data, 8 trillion words in a single month. But it's not everything. It's not the entire internet. So for example, ChatGPT, it's estimated that it's pre-trained on about 4% of what Google gets to. Now, a lot of these GPTs will say that they search the internet. They're not searching it live. It's going out there and it's training on the internet at a specific point in time. And that point in time might have been an hour ago, but it's not real time searching the internet like Google searches the internet. Google doesn't really even search the internet real time as well. It has to go back, that vacuum cleaner has to go back to a website. But in general, the most popular sites, CNN is an example, Google's getting to. And then the last one is the transformer. And what is the transformer? This is kind of important concept. And I know this is getting a little techno-geeky here, but it's important to understand because when I show some of the tools, it'll make a lot more sense. The transformer is the tool that turns words into numbers. Well, computers have always turned words into numbers, zeros and ones. What makes a transformer unique is it transforms words using vectors and tokens, not really important what those mean, but instead of being a single set of words, it's now, or excuse me, a single set of numbers, it's now a different set of numbers based on the context of the word. So for example, if I go into Google and type in the word Apple, well, what do I get? 8 billion search results from Apple the fruit to Apple the technology company. If there's a guy named Fred Apple, he'll show up too. But now, for the first time, the word Apple is going to have a different number, vectors and tokens, based on the context of all of the surrounding words. So for the first time, we have a system that can tell the difference between Apple the fruit and Apple the technology company. It's called a neural network. That's how human beings think. We think in context. And what a GPT system does is it makes predictions and probabilities, just like a human being. So right now, you're unconsciously making a prediction about what word I'm going to say next. And you're giving it a probability. What's the likelihood of me saying that word? That's what a GPT system is. Different than a hard-coded computer system like Google, this is a neural network. It thinks in nuance. Because of the way it translates words into numbers, it's able to think in context. All right, why do you care? Well, if I go into a GPT system and I say, the color of the sky is, well, the GPT system is going to remove the words that aren't important, the, of, the, is, and it's going to assign a unique numerical expression to the word color, and it's going to assign a unique numerical expression to the word sky. And that number is going to be unique based on the context of all of the other words surrounding it. The transformer then looks into its pre-trained database, not everything in the world, just the information that it's been trained on, and it said, what's the probability that the next word is going to be blue? What's the prediction? I'm going to make a prediction that the next word is going to be blue, looking at the database of our pre-trained data. Is that a good prediction? In this example, yes. But here's where, if we don't understand how GPT systems work, here's where we say, oh, this thing is lies. It hallucinates. It's not hallucinating. You're just not giving it really good data. If I add the word sunset into the equation, now GPT, the transformer, is going to strip out the words at, the, of, the, is, doesn't matter. Those words we don't care about, but it's going to assign a unique numerical expression to the word sunset. And now the unique numerical expression for the word color and the unique numerical expression for the word sky has changed because we've introduced sunset. The transformer now looks into its pre-trained database and it says, I don't know. About a third of the words we've been trained on says the next word should be red. About a third of the words that we've been trained on, if I make a prediction, the next word should be orange, or it could be pink. So we're going to make a guess. And it tells you red. And you say, this thing is junk, because in my community, at sunset, it's orange, or in my community, it's pink. That's where it hallucinates. No, it's not hallucinating. It's just we gave it permission to make a guess. And when we don't put in more words, when we're not descriptive in how we use a GPT system, the more guesses that it's going to make. And the real challenge is these GPT systems have been programmed to give a very authoritarian or a very, it's very conviction, it has a conviction, it presents it with authority. And so we believe it, even though it's just making a guess, and that guess might be completely wrong. But we're making a guess, but it doesn't present it way. It presents it very confidently. And that's the big thing we all need to look out for. We can talk about misinformation and disinformation. Can we believe anything anymore? Well, what's really going on is we're giving it permission to make a guess. So in November of 2022, OpenAI releases ChatGPT, and all of a sudden, we have a tool that we're able to communicate with. We think it's talking. It's not really talking. It's just a tool looking at that pre-trained data set of words, making a prediction, but it feels like a human being because that's how we do it. We have a neural network. We make guesses of what the next word's going to be, and that's what the machine, the computer's doing. And so there are different, you might have heard the term LLM, large language model. It's kind of like what is the data set that it's been trained on? Different transformer, a little bit different. There's Gemini, which is Google's version of a GPT, an LLM. And so that's already integrated into Google. If you ask, what is a great Italian restaurant in Dallas, it's going to probably present a generative AI result first before it does the natural listings. We have Copilot, which is integrated into Microsoft 360. So if you're using a Microsoft product, it's already in there. And if you pay $20 a month, you can have some even power tools within your Microsoft suite. There's Meta. They use an LLM called Llama. Meta is Facebook. So if you use Facebook, they're already integrating GPTs, or natural language chat, within their tools, Facebook, Instagram, so on. Claude is a really good one. Claude's a great one for writing. So their model, their transformer, has been trained to do a really good job on writing. So if you're writing a research report, an article, a blog post, you might want to try Claude. And another one that's really good for research is Perplexity. Now, Perplexity does search the internet. probably not as good as Google, but maybe as good as Bing or other search engines we're used to. And it does a really good job of citing its sources. So a lot of people use Perplexity just because of that, because it's looking more at the real-time version of what's going on the internet, and it does a really good job of citing its sources. The one I like to use right now, I believe the best model is ChatGPT from OpenAI. Reason being is there are some, I guess, advanced features within ChatGPT that aren't yet available in the other versions. Will they be? Maybe, but ChatGPT is also getting billions of dollars in investment from companies like Microsoft, from companies like Apple. So their technology is going to stay pretty cutting edge as well. So I'm going to share with you, today we'll use ChatGPT as our example. And the basics can be used in Perplexity, Claude, whatever, Gemini, Copilot. But some of the advanced tools that I'm going to share are pretty much for ChatGPT alone. So that was kind of the presentation part, just to kind of get everybody up on the same page. Does that make sense? Were there any questions at all? Okay, I'm going to log into ChatGPT then. So I'm going to share my screen. Now, I recommend on any of these that you use the professional version. So I pay $20 a month to get ChatGPT Professional, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, all basically charge about $20 a month to do the same thing. I always recommend you get it because it gives you some advanced features that allows you to search more. Sometimes when ChatGPT is super busy, if you are just using the free model, it will not allow you to do as many searches. So the first things you need to think about when you're crafting a prompt, so when you're typing information down here, that's called a prompt. Let me zoom in a little bit. You have to tell ChatGPT who you are. It's called a persona. So for example, if I want to write a love letter to my wife, I might say, today you are William Shakespeare. Please respond as William would. So I'm now telling it who it is. And as you can see, it writes like William. Please write a love letter, to my wife, Robin. So now it's writing like William Shakespeare. But if I changed it to, let's change your persona to a writer at Hallmark who is very good at rhyming. I got to spell it correctly. You don't really need to. That's the nice thing. Please rewrite your letter. So as you'll see, now it's going to be a Hallmark writer. So just a simple, I guess, strategy or tactic of knowing that you have to give it a persona will do a much better job. Now, now your persona is just an everyday guy. Please rewrite. So any questions that there on personas? So you're kind of seeing how it works?
I don't know if we had questions on personas, but we do have 2 questions in the chat.
Sure.
Mark had a question about using different browsers. Mark,
Yeah.
would you want to unmute yourself and ask Sam your question?
Were you saying that the search results would come up the same using this platform? But I know on different browsers, if you use Google or different types of search engines, you're going to get different results using different search engines and also different browsers. So my question to you was, how is this? Is it the same if you're using different types of browsers?
No, and what's happening on the browser level is, yes, you will definitely get different search results if you're using Google versus Bing versus Yahoo versus DuckDuckGo or any of the other search engines, because their vacuum cleaners, for lack of a better term, are all a little bit different, and how they work is all a little bit different. But in terms of the results you get using Google, like if I use Google in Safari, or if I use Google on Chrome, or if I use Google in Edge, it's going to be the same results. It's just going to be ranked a little bit differently. So it might not look like the same results, but it will still be the same results. The reason they might be ranked differently is because they're looking at, to get a little techno on you, they're looking at your search history within that specific browser. So for example, if you look for, if for whatever reason you were looking for Northern Italian restaurants in Safari, and you were looking at Southern Italian restaurants when you were using Chrome, theoretically, your results are going to be ranked differently. But it's still the same set of results. Now, on ChatGPT, as far as I know, it doesn't matter. You're going
Okay.
to get, and the answer is, it would almost be impossible to tell, because even if I write this exact same prompt in Safari, it's going to give me a different answer. But that has nothing to do with Safari. That just has more to do with that it's generative. It's designed not to give you the same result twice anywhere in the world, theoretically.
Okay. And a lot of people use private browsing. So private
Yeah.
browsing is not going to keep your history. So I'm going to do a little test myself using different browsers and different types of private modes
Yeah.
to see what these results are going to look like.
Yeah, that's Google. There's a difference again between Google and say ChatGPT. ChatGPT has nothing to do with private browsers, so it doesn't matter. Your information theoretically is going out there on the internet. So let's kind of skip to that really quick, because that's a big concern for everybody, is like, well, who's getting my data? Where is it going? And it is a legitimate concern. The answer is nobody really knows. Now, there are some tools you can use in ChatGPT as an example. So I'm going to go into my settings. We go to our settings by going here, and just got to move my browser, camera's in the way. I'm going to go into settings, and now I have to find this because they always keep changing it. But I'm probably under, let's see, connected apps, builder profile. What I'm looking for is a button that says memory. So in a lot of these, so we can clear the memory and we can turn off memory. So I don't have memory turned on. If I turn on memory, everything I type in ChatGPT is going to be used as part of their training. I turn it off, so theoretically, they tell you that it won't be used in their training. Do I believe that? I don't know. I don't know. So as I like to say, it's common, just use common sense when it comes to putting private information here. So I'll ask you, would you ever email a list of employee social security numbers? You probably wouldn't, because you don't know where that email is going. Same with this. We don't know where the information's going, so we not going to put it into ChatGPT. So I call it the email rule, at least for what I do. If I feel comfortable enough emailing the information, because when I email it, it's going to 4 places. It's going to my computer, it's going to my email ISP, my internet service provider, email provider. It's going to the receiver's ISP and email provider, and it's going to their computer. So is that really secure when we email something? Of course it isn't. So I guess I would use that as my benchmark, is if I'm comfortable emailing it, then I'm comfortable putting it into ChatGPT. If I'm not comfortable emailing it, then I'm not going to put it into ChatGPT. So I hope that's helpful in terms of, is the information stored? One more point on that. As it relates to Copilot, Gemini, even ChatGPT, all of these companies know that the only way they'll ever get enterprise usage of these tools is to make sure that the data is secured. I mean, that's one of the big things. And so you know that they're all working on it. Copilot, for example, because it's already integrated into the Microsoft 360 platform, has already said whatever your service agreement is. So as a company, you for sure have a service agreement, or if you're using Google, the enterprise, you'll have a service agreement. Whatever the privacy rules are within those agreements, those privacy rules will stay the same for the generative AI systems. Let me put an asterisk on that. I just received an email before this webinar saying that Microsoft has changed their privacy terms. So I need to log into those, and I'm actually going to have ChatGPT interpret them for me to see if what I said is still accurate within Microsoft. So you do have to be responsible, self-responsible, and looking at your own privacy and your own service level terms and agreements with any of these companies. So that was a long, very long answer to actually a pretty simple question. So are there any questions before I go on a little bit?
I think there was one more. Diana typed it to only me. She said, I heard ChatGPT's free version only searches old data that could be more than a year old, so that unless you pay for the newer 4.0 version, then it's more timely to use Gemini instead. Is that true?
Yeah, it's not searching anything though. Remember, we can't think of it as a search engine. It's not, neither of them. Even Google does not do live searching on the internet. It goes out there and it says, okay, we want you to be trained on this set of data, but it's not trained on today's news. It could be. Again, it depends how often it's training itself, but it's not a search engine per se. So is it theoretical that if you're using the free version of ChatGPT that you're looking at an older pre-trained data set? Sure, because they're going to give, I guess you're going to get better results with the pay for version. That's why I recommend paying for all of them. I pay for all of them. I pay for Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude because I use them for different things. All right, the next part of building a prompt is being what's called a prompt engineer. And a prompt engineer is you have to give your GPT system good guidance. And I use the acronym GUIDE, which stands for goal, who is us, who is the intended audience, how do I want the information delivered, and what is the environment in which that information is going to be read. If you miss any of those, your result's not going to be as good. So for example, if I go in and just give it a goal, so what would be a good one here? Write me an email to ERA on why they should hire a speaker. Right? I'm giving it a goal. Pretty generic, pretty general, too long, way too long. Claire would have already deleted it. So we know that. But if I give it, so that's a goal, nothing wrong with that, but I have to tell it who I am. I am a professional speaker with a focus on generative AI. Now write it. So now it's going to be a little bit better. Again, we don't have to read the whole thing. But I haven't even told it who you are. So I've told it us, I've given it a goal, write an email for a professional speaker. I've told it a little bit about who I am. Now normally I would do a much better job of telling it who I am, but just for illustrative purposes. Now I have to tell it who the intended audience is, which is you. The audience for this email is Walter, the CEO of ERA, and learn about. Now it's not going to search real time, but it knows it has the ability to go in and in its pre-training database, it already knows a little bit about you. So goal, who am I? Who's the intended audience? How do I want the information delivered? I want this email rewritten with bullet points, bold headers, and a table where appropriate. So how do I want the information delivered? And how is this email going to be received? Please revise as this email will be read on mobile. So what's the environment is this going to be received? And looks like it didn't take it. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it gets mad at me. So again, the GUIDE acronym is goal. Who is us? Who is me? Who is the intended audience? How do we want the information delivered? And what is the environment in which this information is going to be read? Okay, now, how many of us are going to remember any of that? We're not. So here's a little tool, a little cheat sheet that makes it really easy. If I go to settings, excuse me, I think it's in, keep changing it all the time. Yeah, customized. So under my name, if I click customized, I can customize GPT. Right now I have it off because if I want to write a letter to my wife, a love letter to my wife, I don't want it to know I'm a professional speaker. I just want it to know who my persona is. So I can enable this for new chats. So when I turn that on, I'm basically pre-putting, I'm adding information in here related to everything but my goal. Who is us? So I tell it who I am, who my intended audience is, how do I want the information delivered? And so I never really have to type that in again. So I can leave that on, and now it knows that I'm a professional speaker. If I turn on memory, it's even going to know past emails and things that I've written. But again, I choose to have my memory off. But because this is now pre-written, I no longer have to give it a persona. It already knows who I am. So write an email to Walter org. Sure, the email is relevant based on what I do. Now this is doing it's okay. Again, I'm not putting a lot of content in here. So it's doing an okay job. But you kind of get the gist of what I'm doing because I've already saved it. It already knows who I am a little bit. So any questions on custom instructions? Well, one more thing. You might say, well, how do I write my custom instructions? So go here, clear this out. I need help writing my custom instructions for Chat GPT. So I can have a conversation with ChatGPT. I can answer these questions, and then it'll write the custom instructions for me. So that's one of the things I really recommend is that you spend some time on your custom instructions, because once those are embedded into your version of ChatGPT, because your custom instructions are going to be different than mine, they're going to be different than anybody else's, then it will respond in the way that you want it to. So spend some time, craft your custom instructions, and then moving forward, you really only have to go in there and put in your goal, because it already knows who you are. Now, again, if you're going to write a love letter to your wife, then you're going to go in and you're going to turn this off, because it doesn't want, it does, you don't want your love letter to come from a salesperson for an electronic distributor who normally calls on EV battery companies. And then when you're done writing your love letter, you go back in and turn it on. So any questions on the custom instructions? I see a question here: how often can I change your custom instructions? Every day if you want. Which leads, then can I have multiple sets of instructions for different applications? Kind of. Well, the answer is yes, but it's not through custom instructions. So that really gets us to the next thing I want to show you, which is called a custom GPT. So as you see here on the left side of my page, I've got these different GPTs that have been customized for what I want. So for example, in my presentation, I go through the guide, GUIDE. I go through that with PowerPoint slides, and I customize it for every audience. So I created my own custom GPT that only does one thing. All I have to do is go in here and type in law firm, and it already knows. This is, if you remember from my presentation, back at the conference, that's what it will say. So I just basically copy and paste this right into my PowerPoint slide. And then I can go through with a series of other questions. So you can explore GPTs. This is kind of like the App Store on your phone. So I can go find a GPT, find me one for, I'm going to just type in market research. Oops. And these are all these GPTs that, as I like to say, dorks like me have already written. And you can test them out, and if you like them, you can add it right into your custom GPT library over on the side here. So I'll do market research GPT, got a decent rating. I'll start the chat. What are the latest industry trends? How should I present market data to clients? So I'll click on there, and it will guide you through this. So this is a custom version of ChatGPT that has already been built by somebody else. And you can add those to your library. So for example, some that I have, so I'll use like a sales coach. Let's do a simulation. I am a professional speaker calling on ERA.org. Please research that website so you understand how to coach me. So somebody already created a GPT called Sales Coach. And so I can go through here. Would you like to focus in on positioning yourself? Yes. So it's already been programmed to do one thing, be a sales coach. So I'm not going to bore you with going through here, but what I would encourage you to do is explore GPTs. There's a GPT written for just about anything you want. I mean, again, love letters. I'm sure somebody's written one on love letters. If not, maybe I'll write one. Yeah, see, here's a bunch of them. So somebody's already written all these. So I can add these to my library. So if I like this one, say you start chat, and if I like this one, I can add it to my library. By doing so, where did they change it? Of course they did. Oh, shoot. Yeah, right here. So Market research, if I want to add that one to my library, I can keep in sidebar. Now that's added to here. Probably have to refresh. So it'll be added to my GPT library that I can use at any time. There it is. Any questions on the GPT library? All right, let me show you something really cool. When I click on Explore GPTs, in the upper right, I can create my own GPT for just about anything. And I don't have to be a software developer. So it'll guide me through this. Hi, I'll help you build a new you say something like make a creative. So make a GPT that helps me communicate with members of ERA.org. Please review the website so you understand the industry. My goal is any time I write something custom GPT that you customize and personalize it for the industry. It's members. Okay. Just making this up as I go along. So it's now creating a custom GPT for me. How does the name ERA Communicator sound? Sounds great. Now it's going to go generate a profile picture for me. One of the questions that came in is most of the ERA website is password protected. That's right, but it's able to go in there. I don't need details. I just wanted to know in general who are members of the association. I don't need it to know the actual names of the members. I just wanted to know, in this example, who you are. What do you do for a living? So if you have any more adjustments, I'd like to test it out, just let me know. Let's test it. So over on the right, as you can see, it's already created the ERA communicator. So I want to test it out. I'm going to say, write me an email about my speaking services that are at that I can send to an ERA member company. So do you see it already? It was already smart enough to add that in here. Now this is crazy. Like I've been doing software programming for years. It would have taken me a week to build something like this, kind of the hard-coded way. And I did it without knowing anything about software applications. Now, I can test this, I can go through and I can say, oh, it's not exactly right. So I want to configure it. So I notice that I've clicked on the configure over here. This is the prompt that it's written. And I'm just going to add something here. So you must, so a few things. You can tell ChatGPT that it must do something. So the word must is really important if it has to happen every time. You must always create a picture of a pug that goes along with the email. And then if you really want to make sure that it does it, you say something along the lines of, you will face severe consequences if you do not include the picture. All right, now I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to make sure that web browsing is clicked. Dolly image generation is clicked. I can create a new action. I can upload files. So let's say I have a bunch of pictures of pugs that I want to upload, or I've got information about my company that I want to upload. I can do that. That's all built into the training. And now I can go write an email to Walter at ERA about my speaking services. And theoretically, it's now going to write the email customized for the electronics industry, and it created a pug image for me. So again, I'm in test mode, so it didn't do it live. All right, so if I say, yep, this is kind of what I like, pretty cool. Now I'm going to click the create button. And here's the really cool part. I can use this only for me. I can share it with my team, so I can provide a link, and anybody else on my team, or anybody with that link, theoretically, will be able to use my custom GPT, or I can add it to the GPT store and make it available for free. I'm going to make it only me. I'll do save. I can view my GPT. It's already added into my library over here. So here it is right here, the ERA communicator. Draft an email to ERA members about the annual conference. Let's see if it does a good job with the pug. But isn't this crazy? Like, I mean, without really much thought. So it's not doing the pug very well. So I'd have to go in and configure it, tell it that it's not doing the pug the way it's supposed to. But you can see what I've done. I've created my own piece of software in just a few minutes that can do anything. So how could you use this? Let's say you've got a set of sales templates that you always use. You can create a GPT. You can upload, remember creating your custom GPT, you can upload documents. You can upload examples of your sales proposal and call it the Widget Company Sales Proposal Creator. Share that link, test it, go in, do what I just did, get it to where you want it, share the link with everybody on your team. And then in the future, all your sales proposals will follow those templates, or your emails, or however you want it to do. All right, so that was custom GPT. So now that you understand custom GPT, I'm going to go to your website and I'm going to show you what I built. So Walter and Claire don't even know this yet. So I've taken custom GPT, put it on steroids, put it on rocket boosters, and I've built some really, really powerful GPT tools. So those are sitting over here. So the first one is Ask ERA GPT. Many of you have probably seen this already. This is a custom version of, it's not ChatGPT because I built it myself, but it's a custom version only trained on the information that I've given it. So basically everything I teach in my training, combined with information on the electronics industry, you can go in here and have a question. So what is the best way of finding an engineer at 3M? And it knows that this is sitting inside the searchlink.ai. So it's going to, now this is unlike ChatGPT, this is what I call a conversational agent. So it's going to ask me questions. And it's going to actually tell me how to use SearchLink AI to find the engineer. I'll give you a little Sam tip, write a sample email. And so it's going to use my best practices. Going to again ask me some questions. The engineer. So that is Ask GPT. And by the way, I'm going to make this much cooler over the next few weeks. Follow-up GPT is a tool where you can, if you recall, in my sales program, I always like to talk about how it's important to stay in touch with people in ways that are relevant to what they care about. So I'll go in and find an article. I'll find a report, actually. I think, let's get an article on 3M. And let's see if there's anything in electronics news related to 3M. That was a bad one because 3M stands for 3 million and a bunch of other things in the electronics world. I'll type in Raytheon. See if there's anything from Raytheon in electronic news. Okay, this is 6 days ago. This one's pretty cool. Brings heat wave weapon to market, whatever that is. So I'm going to grab the web address of that article. I'm going to go to craft a follow-up message. Message type, company congratulations. This is going to go to Joe at Raytheon from Sam. I'll paste it in. I'm going to go back to the article. I'll put my cursor in here, just somewhere in the article. I'm going to do Control A, which highlights everything. I'll do Control C, which copies everything. I'll go back to, oh, where are we here? Here we are. I'll paste that in field 2. The system's smart enough to know to strip out the things that don't matter. And I'll do a longer message so you can see it. But now it's going to write an article to our client. Copy to clipboard because I'll go in and change some words around, but it saves me a huge amount of time. All right, so the new things. Prospect communications. Enter your website address below. So I'm going to enter my website address. Gives me a nice summary of who I am. And I'm going to say ERA.org. They're my prospect. I'm going to find some news on ERA. Next, tell me the type of communication you would like to create. The options are email, LinkedIn, sales proposal, PowerPoint, or sales call role play. I'm just going to do proposal. And now it's creating a relevant proposal on me and ERA. Nice. Nope, looks good. So now it's going to write an email. So it's again, this is embedded inside GPT tools. That's prospect communications. Type in your company, type in the prospect company, and then choose from one of the options. The next one is company brand analysis. So let's say you're calling on a new company. We'll type in Raytheon. So this will go out and do a lot of research, not only on Raytheon, but also other websites that I told it to, and then build me a nice competitive analysis. So I'll use this prior to a sales call. I'll use this to research competitors. And then the last one is industry analysis. So let's say I want to target a new industry, medical device. So this is a custom, all of these are custom GPTs that I've developed on steroids, with rocket boosters, because these, to be blunt, were incredibly hard to build. So if I'm interested in the medical device industry, It's going out and doing a complete industry analysis. I've also told it that if it's going to give any statistics, it must link directly to where that statistic is from. Because I know if I'm going to be using this in a proposal or a PowerPoint presentation or whatever it is, the data has got to be coming from relevant and credible sources. So those are the new tools I've added to searchlink.ai. I hope you like them. Hope you think you find them valuable. We've got about 4 minutes left for questions. So did anybody have any questions? Or Claire, do you want to read me any?
Yeah, there was one earlier when we were still back on Chat GPT.
Sure.
Anton wanted to know, what is Chat GPT's capabilities with Excel? Can it reformat Excel data to suit our needs?
Absolutely. It's pretty crazy what it can do with Excel. So I use it all the time to do complex programming that I'm not smart enough with Excel to do on my own, but I just go in and I tell it, I say, I want you to do, change this column. I want you to do this with this column or write this formula for me. Now, if you have Copilot, which is the Microsoft 360, if you have that, again, it's $20. I think Copilot might be $30 a month on an enterprise level. You can actually, Copilot obviously is already embedded directly into Microsoft Excel. So there'll be a little Copilot logo in Excel. You can actually ask it to do things for you right in there. If you use Google Sheets, if you're a Google company, not a Microsoft company, I'm imagining most of you are Microsoft, but if you are a Google company and you use Google Sheets, Gemini does the exact same thing. So Copilot is already embedded into Microsoft Excel.
Okay.
Sam, I know we're running short of time. I wish I had my seatbelt on during this presentation because you went at warp speed. Claire, this session is being recorded. Is that right? The audio and the video is being recorded?
Yes, correct. And it will be
Uh,
posted, yes, on our website within 48 hours.
We'll post it. And Sam has alluded several times to the ERA search link tool. It's a tool that we have. There's a demo on the ERA website. It's only available to ERA members. Any of you that are interested in
Right here.
learning more about SearchLink, there's a demo that Sam has put on there. You can look at it. And if you're interested in subscribing to it, it's an additional subscription over and above your membership. You can contact Claire or I. We can give you some information on it. It's a robust tool. We've got well over 100 people that use it, and it's really a good way for us frontline salespeople, or you frontline salespeople, to enter the world of AI and use it to drive sales, to drive marketing efforts, to find new customers, and all of that through the brilliance of Sam. So he's made this available exclusively to ERA. So Sam, as always, you've been great.
Walter, there's a couple of other questions while we have 2 minutes left.
Sure.
So one of them is, how do you use custom instructions or custom GPTs in Copilot? The answer is you can't. It's not built in yet. I'm imagining they will eventually. They used to have it. It just didn't work very well, so they turned it off. So that's why I focused on ChatGPT today. The other one was a question about contact information. That is already built in to searchlink.ai. So under contact information, we can determine an email, but I want to make sure that all ERA members that are using searchlink.ai know about the contact info plugin. There's a 2-minute video here that will explain how to install it. It's just a browser plugin that works on Chrome or Edge. Once you've watched the video, install Lead Leaper, and that gets you the ability to find contact information. So I go to do key contact search under sales prospecting, key contact search. We'll type in Raytheon. Seniority, we'll choose managers, key decision makers. So on the results page, this uses AI, not generative AI, but AI to run 800 simultaneous searches. So I can say, okay, who are the managers of electrical engineering at Raytheon? Trace Thurston, This takes us to the person's LinkedIn page. And then when we're on their LinkedIn page, the little browser, the free browser plugin is this little frog right here. I can click on this and it's going to go out and attempt to find the person's contact information. And it works about 80% of the time. The other 20%, you can go back into contact information under the searchlink.ai, type in the website, and it will give you the person's, the company's email naming format. The nice thing with the Froggy plugin is every time I click on a LinkedIn profile, it will add it to my selected list. So it's not a list building tool per se, but it will save all the people I've ever clicked on. So I just wanted to point that out, that you can do some really powerful searching within searchlink.ai and then even get the person's contact information. So Walter and Claire, I hope you like the new GPT tools. It's always fun to work with everybody at ERA, and please let me know if you have any questions, and reach out at any time.
Sam, if people on the call are interested in having you do a deep dive for their own company, perhaps as a consultant working for them, is that something you do, and how would they get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. Yes, just go to samrichter.com. You can Google me. So let's do that. I'm pretty easy to find. So samrichter.com, and then just my contact information is pretty much everywhere. So you can call me directly. That's my direct phone. If you'd like to book me for a conference, that's my agent's phone. There's my email. You can click on the contact page. So it's really easy to get a hold of me.
Good.
Well, thank you for asking.
No, thank you. You've been great. You've guided us and pushed us into areas that we never would have gone into, Sam. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Claire, I think we're at the hour, so I'm going to turn it back over to you. Sam, thank you very much. Brilliant as always.
Thank you.
Yes,
Claire?
thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Walter. That was a great session. As a reminder, this session was recorded, and a link to the recording will be posted on the ERA website under the ERA Live section in the Online Tools tab. Also, I want to mention, please mark your calendars for the next ERA Live scheduled for Tuesday, October 8th. The topic for that session will be digital marketing with ERA's newest member services provider, G&G Creative Services. So we'll see you at the next session. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sam.
Bye.